Microjunks crafting table tutorial. This is part one. These are going to be broken into a couple of different pieces simply because, well, I hate YouTube. First, we're going to look at the mod class. This is table tutorial. I'd prefer you to call yours something else, but if you really want to go ahead and copy me and create another tutorial mod, you go right ahead. I'd prefer you didn't. Try to make it something more towards what you want, and just go ahead and use your imagination and make it yours. Don't make it another tutorial, a better table like my written text or any of that. You guys are confusing yourselves, and it has absolutely no, I guess, personal meaning or value to you. I've seen it many times, and I'm sorry if I sound mean, but try to use your imagination. Make it yours. Don't make another one of mine. Okay? There are some key points in the mod class that you need to be aware. The mod ID, the at instance. Okay, those have to match. You should know how to make a block. And looking at my written text, you can see the GUI handler is an important piece to this. Down in the load method, you need to define your block. You also need to add the network registry. If the network registry and the at instance do not line up when you launch your mod, you will get that a mod tried to open a GUI on the network that is not a network mod error. That is where that error comes from, because you are making a mistake usually right here. And sometimes it comes back to you're doing this method and then you're trying to follow someone else's method for that, or you're using another method for the mod ID and then you're following my method for using this. There's a few variations to why some people are having that particular error. Please understand this video is just for clarity on my written text portion of the tutorial. This and this must be the same in order for this to work. If they are not the same, you're going to get that network error every single time. Okay, now let's move right along to the block class. This is my block class. And I am going to show you the 3x3 table, and I am going to show you how it works, just copying the in-game source files for the workbench. As I've stressed many times on my thread, to please use the source files as a reference point. They will help you greatly. I'm going to go ahead and recreate the workbench entirely using those classes. I am not going to do anything else other than that, and this is just to prove my point that you guys have the available source in front of you. Please use it. Everything down to this method is the exact same as this class here, with the exception of being that it's a base class. There's going to be a slight difference in the way the icons are registered, simply because I am using my mod ID and my texture outside of Minecraft's own source. So, get down to the meat of it. This is the onBlock activated method. Obviously that and this are slightly different. Reason being is when you're using Forge and you're not editing base classes, you're going to have some variations in how things are done. I am using this line here in the true section, and in theirs both sections are true. However, this says is remote, which is not really necessary. If the player is not sneaking, okay, it'll open. It doesn't have to be a remote world. GUIs will only open on client side anyway, be it survival mode, multiplayer mode, what have you. GUI will only open on the client side of the game. So here in mine, I am calling my mod class, getting my instance from the mod class, and then using my GUI ID. Mine is 0. Okay, that should pretty much explain that portion of my written text. This is how the GUI works in mine, the onBlock activated method, and I will post that code if it's not already there, which it should be, but I'm going to edit my thread and I will make sure that this is there. We don't need that block class or this one to look at anymore. So, moving right along and with my showing you guys my proof of concept here for recreating it using only the class files in the game, we're going to go ahead and start with the container. This is the container class from Minecraft, Container Workbench. And what I'm going to do is open up my container table, and I'm going to go ahead and copy this class directly into mine. I'm going to rename it back to mine, and I'm going to get rid of all these imports. I don't use Control-Shift-O simply because I don't want to overlook anything, and I suggest you do the same. Unless it's something you know you don't need or need to worry about, please do not use the shortcut, because there are some things in here that you need to pay attention to. And this is one of those areas right here. Okay? The on craft matrix changed. This is the crafting manager. If you import that using Control-Shift-O and overlook that part, this is why your crafting manager does not work. Change that to your crafting manager. Then it will work. Okay, and now getting down to point 2 as to why you don't want to just use the shortcut for making these imports. The on or can interact with method. This method right here tells your GUI that it can interact with your block. If you don't change block workbench in the container in the can interact with method, you're going to get a GUI that opens and closes immediately. This needs to reflect your block. So we will go ahead and change that to my block. My table from my mod class. Now when I launch this, when I get to that point, it will open and stay open. Now we're done with that class. We can go ahead and just close this after we save it, and we can have a ball with that. Now I'm going to work on the crafting manager. I am simply, as I said, copying over and pasting. Copy, paste. We can get rid of this class. We no longer need it open. Again, do not use Control-Shift-O to make your imports. You don't want to overlook anything. Rename. These are hard-coded. We can get rid of those. And I get rid of everything but one recipe. This is a test recipe. Okay? Everything but those 2 lines out of the crafting manager table okay, the private section, you want those 2 lines only, and that's it. And then you want to rename the recipe sorter because you absolutely need that. You have to remake that class. This is a basic table. We can keep the shaped and shapeless recipes. Just make the rest of the imports. Okay, that's all there is to that. That's part 1.